We've got the all-new 2024 RAV4 hybrid in the Woodland trim, which is why we're in the wilderness today, to get a breath of fresh air and test out this RAV4 hybrid. Wait, what was that? Okay, maybe we'll go back to the city for a bit. Let's put it in sport mode and do a quick launch. Ready, set, go. Okay. It's a CVT transmission. There's 100 kilometers an hour. It's actually rather quick, especially compared to what it's up against, like the Hyundai Tucson or the CR-V. And you can watch a comparison review between all three SUVs in the video above. This does make 219 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque from a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated inline-4. The engine is mated to 2 electric motors, and it does come with all-wheel drive. The Woodland edition unfortunately does take a hit to the fuel economy, which poses a threat to the reason why you buy a hybrid in the first place. But if you want your cool roof racks and these all-terrain tires, a sacrifice must be made. It still does a really good fuel mileage figure of 38 miles per gallon in the city, 35 on the highway for a combined 37 average. If you don't get the Woodland trim, you'll get about 3 miles per gallon better overall. During our testing, we did our 70 miles per hour highway test, and it did 36 miles per gallon, which is actually pretty good. That's more than twice as efficient as most other overland SUVs like a Jeep Wrangler. Before you start dreaming about tackling the Moab in the overland, it's worth noting that this isn't a pixel-perfect adaptation to the TRD off-road version. You don't get the TRD's extra half-inch of ground clearance, nor do you receive the specific all-wheel drive system that comes in the TRD. Since it is a hybrid version, the rear axle isn't mechanically linked with the engine. It's just powered by the electric motor, using a single 54 horsepower electric motor, and again, no connection between the front and the rear. What you do get in the Woodland edition though is a melting pot of form and function. The TRD off-road version of this does lend its 18-inch bronze alloy wheels wrapped with the Falcon Wild Peaks all-terrain tires, and it also borrows the TRD springs, dampeners, and bump stops. Otherwise, this RAV4 does get a few mild aesthetic differences, including the roof rack, the mud flaps, as well as a 120-volt outlet in the trunk. The all-terrain tires are great on looser surfaces like gravel, but on the pavement they do suffer just a little bit. But no matter the trim you get, the powertrain remains the same 2.5 liter inline-4 with the electric motors. The CVT transmission does blend the gas and electric system really well. It does a really good job of just hunting where it should be. So when you step on the gas, it just goes pretty quickly. Like, there's no latency to when you actually step down and when it goes. I think it works really well. And the electric transition and the combustion transition is so seamless, you won't really notice. There is an EV logo that lights up. Right now it is on EV mode. If you give it a little bit of gas, still EV mode, but if you're heavy on the throttle, the engine will kick on. If your idea of adventuring includes towing, then this Woodland hybrid version might not be it, because it can still only tow 1,750 pounds, which is not all that much. You should get the non-hybrid version, like the TRD off-road version, because that one can pretty much tow almost double the weight. The TRD specific suspensions are a little bit rougher on very small bumps like cracks in the road, but when it comes to bigger potholes, like let's go through this one, yeah, you can barely feel it. If you live in a place like Toronto where the roads are quite bumpy, like this really rough road we're on right now, these shocks do a really amazing job just soaking it all up, since it's made for mild off-roading. I feel like when you're driving one of these in this specific trim, you really don't have to slow down for speed bumps or any potholes. It just feels super comfortable. Alright, we're still in EV mode. You You can hear the little hum. Oh, the engine kicked on. You can barely tell. You can't really hear it unless you're actually on the accelerator. Then you can hear that engine. It sounds alright, but no, back to EV mode. I'd rather listen to the car in electric mode. There is a drive mode selector. You do have your eco mode, your normal, your sport, of course your trail mode, and an all-electric EV mode, which if I click right now, it won't let me transition. I think I have to be going under 35 kilometers an hour for that. The ride overall is pretty pleasant. If you're not too heavy on the accelerator, it's pretty quiet. You really don't hear much road noise. It's smooth. The steering is a little bit lighter than something like the Honda CR-V, and because of all these all-terrain tires, they don't grip nearly as much as like summer tires, but they still do a really good job. You are missing paddle shifters though, but you do have a sport transmission mode, which I guess you can simulate the gears, but let's just put it back in drive. You also get your brake hold. All right, some cornering tests right now. Pretty harsh turn. Oh, a little bit of understeer, but it actually does a really good job of staying planted. It feels pretty sure-footed. It doesn't feel like you're gonna flip the car or anything. I think Toyota did a really good job with the chassis tuning on this because it feels like it weighs less than it does. In terms of safety features, you do get active safety sense 2.5, so cruise control on, lane keep is on. I let go of the wheel, and it's just keeping the lane. Doing a pretty good job. It will mention to put your hands back on every once in a while. There is traffic jam assist, so this will work all the way to 0 kilometers an hour. Does a really good job. There isn't really much to complain about. And of course you do get your blind spot monitors and your lane departure warning. You even have left turn assist, which can detect a car coming towards you when you're making a left turn. Of course you do have a backup camera with your rear cross traffic alert. On the Woodland trim, you do not get a 360 camera, but if you get a higher up RAV4 trim, there is one available. All right, around this corner. Oh, okay. Holy crap, this actually does really good. Surprisingly well for a RAV4. This RAV4 in the Woodland trim does look amazing with this army green color and the black roof option. You do get your full LED headlights now on every single trim for the RAV4. You got your blue Toyota badge signifying that it is a hybrid. Excuse the little bit of mud since we did take it on a trail. You do get your fog lights down here. Again, really nice headlights. Coming to the side, you do get these really nice 18-inch bronze wheels that are borrowed from the TRD off-road version. They are wrapped in all-terrain tires. You got your black mirror caps here. There are massive black door handles. Again, you got the roof rack with the crossbars up top, your all-wheel drive logo, and you do get these plastic fender flares, which do look a little bit, what did I say? Cheap, but like it's part of like the aesthetic, or look a little bit more rugged. Coming to the rear, you got these really standard RAV4 taillights, which I have no issues with. You got your black RAV4 badging and your hybrid badging and the Woodland badging, and of course the blue hybrid badge. Coming down to the bottom, you got your trailer hitch here and you got your dual exit exhaust pipe. Inside the Woodland RAV4 is nothing particularly special. All three mirrors are twice as large as they need to be, providing great visibility. The passenger side dashboard storage tray is a nice touch, and there's plenty of space to dump random things under the center armrest and in the tray in front of the shifter. To be especially particular, the digital gauge cluster was a bit washed out while driving around in the bright midday sun, which made configuring advanced driving assistance and some other functions a little more of a hassle than it should be. I wish it had the full digital dash like some of the higher trims, but that's asking for too much at this low price point. You do get your cool Woodland mats around the car, which looks awesome. They are also thicker and they're extra durable. The 8-inch infotainment screen is decent. It does run on the newer Toyota OS, so it's smooth and easy to use, and of course it has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you do get a higher up trim level though, you will get a bigger screen, which does look a lot nicer, especially in 2024. The seats are fabric and it does feel significantly cheaper than an XSE trim RAV4. I think compared to some of its competitors at around the same price, they offer a slightly nicer interior. You do get leather starting at a lower price in something like a Hyundai Tucson. So if that bothers you, just get a different car or get a higher trim level RAV4, which would also fix that washed out dashboard and provide a bigger infotainment screen. And of course, it does have more features and nicer finishes throughout. The rear seats are roomy but not quite as large as a CR-V, and the finishes are about the same as the front. You do get your vents back here and 2 USB-C ports in the back, which is a nice touch. The trunk is 37.6 cubic feet and 69.8 cubic feet with the seats down. You get the cool Woodland trunk mat again, and you do get a power outlet because this vehicle is made for adventures and camping. So that's a nice feature. To wrap things up, the RAV4 Woodland trim feels like it's designed to make the lower trim a more attractive and appealing option. Usually, you would have to go for the SE or the XSE trim to have some sort of an appealing design that kind of stands out among the crowd. But with this, you get this military-inspired color with flashy bronze wheels and blacked out trimming, which people either love or hate. I think it's pretty cool, and you do get a few other touches and features that make this a more adventure-ready weekend getaway SUV. And you get all this for such a great price of just about $35,000 USD, or about 45,000 Canadian in Canada. It's definitely not a serious off-roader, so don't expect to be tackling anything too extreme, but if you want more capabilities, you gotta get the non-hybrid trail or the TRD off-road trim. If the mediocre interior doesn't bother you and you're not rock crawling your RAV4, then this is a great choice. But if you have a few extra $1,000 in 2024, I think it's worth upgrading to an XSE trim for the features, the better finishes, and better fuel economy. I think it's worth it, but again, this is kind of a bargain, so you can't really ask for too much. If you want to check out the RAV4 Prime, which by the way is my favorite RAV4, you can check that out here. As always, thanks for watching.